we become to respect each other, to understand each other's narrative, and to listen, which is very much important. We were given 90 minutes for last night's session. However, we exceeded that very easily. And I was telling Alia yesterday that we could have gone on for hours, hadn't some of us needed to go to the washroom or to freshen up with a cigarette, because this is the Middle East after all. And I told her that I wish that our respective leaders negotiate in the same way. We all had our focal period that brought us to take part of this fellowship. And we all had our personal experience. And some of us needed reassurance. So once we go back to our home countries and we have to battle our own battlefield in our own constituency, we need some reassurance to know that peace can be achieved, or the other side wants to engage in a situation that can bring about a better future for themselves. Optimism and pessimism is something that we heard throughout the morning, and this was also the common terms that we used last night, but largely in the same sentence. Some of us started from one side of the political spectrum, and throughout the years decided to go to the other, to the center or to the other side of the political spectrum. The Atkin Fellowship has a major impact, and I can tell you I've decided to stay in London now. I'm part of the Israeli embassy. I'm not a diplomat, but the tools and the knowledge I was given with ICSR and with the Syrian Edwards' help, they introduced us to Member of Parliaments, lords, journalists. We decided to expose ourselves to the students, to the academic institutions all over London, and really wanted for the ICSR and the King's College to take advantage of the fact that the Atkin Fellowship brings Israelis and young leaders from the Arab world, and to actually talk about the realities, the challenges, what we face in Israel, and try to talk not only from an academic point of view, but also from a personal experience, and we all have some. I think I'll pass it on to Alia to discuss about what the Atkin Fellowship provides us, and also what we discussed with the topics.
Thank you very much. It's an honor to be introduced by Kim Campbell, and thank you for that, but I just have also a correction. I'm doing an MPhil and not a PhD, but hopefully a PhD, inshallah, as we say in the Middle East. And of course, Odilia, my colleague at the Atkin Fellowship. I just want to start off by saying and using a quote that was frequently used by the late King Hussein of Jordan. And he, sorry. Is that okay? Yeah. Is that okay? Yeah. Basically, to start off with something that the late King Hussein bin Talal of Jordan used to say, which is, you don't really know a man until you step into someone else's shoes. And we certainly had an opportunity to do that at the Atkin Fellowship. And it was a fine example of the ability to do that in 4 months. As Odilia said, I had met Israelis before. I had worked briefly with some, but not that kind of exposure that we got during the fellowship. And basically, what I'm going to start by saying is basically what the Atkin Fellowship provided for us. It provided a unique environment, specifically because it was based in London. And certainly it wasn't a neutral environment, but it was certainly a unique one because it's a cosmopolitan city and we had the opportunity to have an access to a wealth of resources. We met with academics. We had the chance to participate in some lectures given at King's College, which was incredibly important to our research and our work. We also participated in debates. We attended conferences that we would otherwise not have had the privilege of attending, met with some extraordinary professionals and experts on the Arab-Israeli conflict, and also some students also, and we learnt a lot from that. Another thing is that being away from the region, either you're completely surrounded and inundated with information on the conflict, or you're in your own bubble and you choose to ignore it. And it allows us to step away from the region, away from the conflict, and look at it from a broader perspective and step outside that kind of little kind of encasing that we have when we talk about the Middle East. Another thing that it did was that it definitely, as Adelia was saying, it challenged our perceptions and preconceived notions about the conflict. I think we're all happy to say that we're all pretty liberal, open-minded people. We shed our biases and we left them at the door when we started the fellowship. And it really did create new understanding because we explored issues at a much deeper level and at a much more sensitive level. And these are very, very emotive subjects, as you all must know. So it was really a special kind of education, having that kind of interaction on different levels. I believe the two new fellows yesterday were saying that people overheard their conversation in a cafe, and one gentleman invited them out to dinner because he was so interested in the topic. When Adam and I had conversations that were extremely heated, other people chose to leave the next table and go on somewhere else. So that was interesting. But it's basically, we did think out of the box, often to find ourselves also in another box that we had to think out of. And that was a very good thing because it really opens your mind to other possibilities, other ways of looking at things, and other ways of looking at challenges. And it definitely checked our subjectivities, and we came in thinking that we know a lot about the other side, we know each other's narratives, and in fact we found out that there was so much more that we need to work on. The third thing that I want to speak about is the psychological barrier, and that was, I think, a very important thing as I think Adelia would also agree. It was very difficult also 4 months because we're used to a certain narrative, we're used to a certain history, we were exposed to a lot from our own respective sides. And although we do challenge ourselves, and we challenge ourselves internally, both Israelis and Arabs within ourselves, on the conflict,